Hey guys, I'm reporting back from regionals, and in this video I'm not going to talk about my performance or my deck. I want to talk about a few things that happened at the tournament, and notably a lot of players yesterday got game losses and warnings by the judges for not following simple rules. So what this video is for is to inform you that the judges are actually cracking down. And there are a lot of rules that I myself have, admittedly not followed. And I want to go through what those are and how to avoid them and avoid getting game warnings and losses, because they're very simple mistakes. And they're things that people have gotten away with for a long time, but people are cracking down. So I need you guys to pay attention to this and make sure that you are following these rules, especially at regionals and YCS level, because it would be awful to have your tournament experience ruined by getting handed a game warning or a double warning or a game loss for any of these easy things that you might forget or that you might be used to doing but you can't do anymore. Let's start with number one. This is one that I've never done, but I heard that this happened to someone yesterday, and that is using playmats and sleeves with inappropriate images on them. Someone got a warning, and I think even left the tournament because they were not allowed to use their mat or sleeves because they were inappropriate. This is an easy one. Be realistic. Use the whatever plain color you want for your sleeves. Don't put pictures on your sleeves of inappropriate stuff. There are kids at these tournaments, man. I have a friend who's got a kid and they both play at these tournaments. Kids 10, 12 years old or something, doesn't need to be seeing that kind of shit, all right? And it just makes people uncomfortable. Not just kids, even adults, and even me. If I was to play against you and you had inappropriate playmat, inappropriate sleeves, I'd be like, what are you doing? Okay, so that one's got to stop. That one has been in the news in the last year or so. It started in Konami Europe, where you're not allowed to use that kind of stuff on your playmat or sleeves, especially if you're going to be on stream. And then just in general, not allowed to have that. It's an easy one to fix if you're doing it. Just please stop doing it. If you want to do that stuff at home, playing with your friends, whatever, do your thing. But in an actual regional or YCS or locals experience where there's other people that you don't know around, cut that out. Number two, I'm going to get into one that I do myself, and I was surprised that people were getting game losses or warnings. And you can see it on my field right now. There's actually three things here on my field that are not allowed and that you would get a warning or a loss for. Number one, having the deck not in the deck zone. Yeah, that's right. It's kind of obvious that your deck should go where the deck goes, which is down here in the bottom right, or if you're left-handed, in the bottom left. But I like to keep mine up here. And, for the reason that I got long arms and I don't want to T-Rex to reach my deck, an extra deck, right? I like to kind of reach out a little bit. But people were getting game warnings for that. So it's in the rules. It's obvious that it's in the rules because that's where the zone is on the mat, right? But now you have to actually do it. People are cracking down on that. And this is not to say whether I agree with that or not. I'm just saying that this is a rule that's being enforced more than it was before in my experience. So just beware. Keep your deck down here in the deck zone. Number two, on my field, using another game's card as part of the field, whether it's a token or a field center. I use this Magneton, Japanese Magneton card as my field center, and I've been doing that for years. But people got a game loss, specifically in the finals, in the last round of the tournament. At table one of the players had a different game's card as a token and got a game loss for it. So that's actually wild, but it's clearly not allowed. Konami prints tokens so that you can use them as tokens. They print field centers so you can use them as field centers. So just got to start doing that. Just got to start following the rules and using what the what Konami provides to use as those pieces. Okay. The next one I want to talk about, I'm not sure if this happened specifically yesterday, but I know it's been popping up in the last couple tournaments where I always used to break this and I always get agreement with my opponent, but having my side deck in my deck box on the side. You're supposed to have your side deck visible at all times. I've actually started in the last, I think, 2 regionals, leaving my side deck on top of my deck box to the side, which I think is how you're supposed to do it. But otherwise, I like to leave my side deck in the deck box. And that's just so, like, I don't knock it over or, like, bump into it and spread a whole pile of cards. But that's not allowed. It's in the rules to have your side deck out of your deck box during the entire duel. And that makes sense because, if you have your side deck in a deck box down here, like in your bag or something, you could have like 4 deck boxes with 4 different side decks for whatever matchup you're playing, right? So you have to have your side deck visible at all times to avoid any cheating of swapping out side decks or whatever, all that kind of thing. That would be the reasoning, I would think, for that rule. But yeah, it's just one that you got to start following to avoid game loss. The next one is, I don't have an example here, really, but this also happened, funnily enough, in the last round at Table 1, having dirty sleeves. Dirty sleeves are no good because it counts as marking your cards. Funny enough, if you know that this one card is in a sleeve with a speck of dirt on it right here, you can see that that's the next card in your deck. It's essentially the same as marking the card and knowing it's just unfair knowledge advantage, right? So have clean sleeves. If your sleeves start to get dirty or start to have spots on them or start to bend at all, you got to replace them. It's just part of the rules. You can't mark your cards or have any suspicion that you can mark your cards or that you know what the next card is when it's not public game knowledge, right? Okay. And then the next one I want to talk about, I don't have an example here, but I will show it on the screen, is using these cards as tokens. Yes, these are Konami printed cards or Bandai cards, or I don't know who printed them, but they are Yu-Gi-Oh! Official merchandise. But literally on the card it says these cards cannot be used in a duel. So you cannot use them as tokens, even though they're popular. I've seen so many people use these as tokens, but I know someone personally that yesterday in round 2 got a game warning for having these as tokens, so we had to swap those out for different cards, I imagine. And yeah, so make sure you use official Konami tokens, or at least official looking Konami tokens. I made these ones myself. These are the ones I use. It's the official Albaz the Shrouded token from the structure deck, but I just put an actual Fallen of Albaz artwork on it, and the same with this Ecclesia one. I think these are close enough to, actual tokens, but just use Yu-Gi-Oh! Looking ones. Don't use other game cards like this. Don't use Konami cards that cannot be used in a duel or are marked as such, because, yeah, that's getting cracked down on, and people are getting losses and warnings. So, from what comes to mind, I think that wraps up all of the things that people were getting losses for yesterday. I know someone at least got a warning or a loss for everything that I mentioned. So I just want you guys to be aware of those. Make sure you're following the rules, read up on the rule book, and start changing your ways like I have to do. I'm going to stop using this as a field center. I'm going to start putting my deck where the deck goes. Side deck on top of the deck box. My mat is fine. My sleeves are fine. So yeah, we're just going to go from there. Hope this is helpful to you, or at least informative, or at least brings that to your attention that these things are not flying anymore. Even though they seem kind of minor, they do break the rules officially. So it's the judge's job. I want to be clear, I don't blame the judges at all for handing out warnings and losses, because that is their job. Their job is to check if the rules of the game are being followed, and if they are not, they have to assign, some kind of action, right? So if they're letting that slide, they're not doing their job, and then they get in trouble. So it's obviously their job to do that. Just, it's a trend that everything is being followed more closely, so I want to make sure you guys are following them closely as well, following the rules closely as well. All right, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Take it easy.